Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Harper. I'm the Executive Director of the AACFB, and I will be your host. I'm pleased to welcome you today to webinar, How to Be Successful in Truck Financing. Please note that today's webinar is being recorded, so all participant lines will be muted during the broadcast. However, you can submit a question at any time during today's presentation using the Q&A box, and they will be answered by the end of the webinar. If you have a question and would like to ask your question verbally, please click the raise your hand feature and you will be unmuted to speak during the Q&A section. Our presenters today are Patrick Kaufman with Balboa Capital and Kit West with CH Brown. I want to thank you both for sharing your experience with our audience today. I know you both have a wealth of experience in truck financing. So with that, I will turn it over to you and it is all yours.
Thank you, Monica. Appreciate everything that you do, and yeah, just thank you.
Mhm.
All right, success in truck financing. There is no magic bullet. We can go back. There is just no magic bullet. You just got to be consistent. So we're just going to go through touch a few points here, and hopefully help you out, and then open it up to questions and kind of go from there. Truck financing products. So for us, CH Brown, we're simple interest loans. Patrick, do you guys do leases in trucking at all?
We only do what we call an EFA, an equipment
Okay.
finance agreement. So it's like a lease, but the ownership is day one for the customer.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
but we do treat it like basically a dollar buyout lease.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, most of ours are going to be simple interest loans. So a little bit different, where you'll own the truck from day one, but generally we require some down payment to start the process.
Okay. And with an EFA, the only thing we'll require is a security deposit, which is just equal to the amount of what the first payment would be.
Okay. Okay. All right, very good. All right, we're just going to jump into how to find your client. And so a couple questions I guess you need to ask yourselves. Who is your ideal client? Who do you like to work with? Do you like to work with vendors, dealerships, and the sort there, and get all of your business through the vendor side of things? Or do you go after the direct trucking companies out there and get an idea, you know, who they are, and then go with them, and then go and find a truck for them, or go and find financing and find a truck for them. So I guess you need to ask yourself that question: who is your ideal client, and who do you like to work with? Are you good with working with dealerships, vendors, where basically the borrower is the dealership's client? I mean, they'll bring the deal to you, and you will go out and find the financing. Of course, there's several ups and downs with that. Or are you good with working with direct clients, where the borrower is your client? You get to take them to the dealership and find the truck and find the financing. Kind of two different mindsets right there. Anything else, Patrick?
Well, I guess the best thing I think is to, if you can, and easier for you is to work with dealerships that have customers already there for you. They can generally pre-qualify them and maybe get a better understanding of who that customer is. So you're not smiling and dialing all the time, looking for the right source at a direct source. It's just I guess, much easier to find them through a vendor or a dealership.
Yeah, that is true. It's difficult. I mean, there's ways of doing it, but it is hard to go out there and pre-qualify a business where they don't even know they're ready to go buy anything, and trying to build those relationships. That is difficult. Working with vendors. I guess some of the so these vendors, they are getting called upon, these dealerships are getting called upon all the time. Hey, do you offer financing, and we can help you, we can do it better. So it's hard to differentiate yourself from all the other brokers, all the other funding sources that are going after these vendors. And so I think if you really dig into vendors, look at what they're currently doing and see what their problems are. Have a conversation with them, and then build a process to help alleviate their problems. Figure out what their difficulties are. Is it time? Is it what is their issues with their current funding sources, and find problems to solve there, and start with that, just to start to build a relationship. Yeah. And what do you got, Patrick? Anything to add?
Well, I think that's the key is developing that relationship with the vendor. And so you are their go-to person, that they have confidence that you're going to find the right funding source for the customer that comes to them.
And then on the other side is working direct with clients. And so, and I put in here, see what works and what does not work. This is kind of hard. I mean, you're going to have to go out and find these trucking companies and build the relationships directly with them, figuring out their pain points, how they want to grow, what problems they need to solve, what equipment do they need, and solving those problems directly for them. This could lead to, a couple of things I was thinking about. You have a direct client, you get to take this direct client to a dealership and find the truck that they fits them. And then that opens up the relationship with the dealership. So there's a couple different ways of looking at that.
And again, I think it's understanding the industry that you're gearing towards, because it's not just over the road trucks. It's also different types of transportation that the customers may be looking for. And so you may not necessarily need to go to just a truck dealership, but there's also other places out there that deal with other types of transportation that can be in that same category.
So some of the common pitfalls through all of this, and we're just kind of go over a few of these, and what there's really one common thing that can help us. So some of the common pitfalls when you're out there trying to drum up, you're doing prospecting, trying to drum up business, or you have business drummed up, and so the clients, they'll do wishy-washy. They'll go to another broker. A dealership will go to another broker. The client starts shopping their deals to other funding sources. The vendor shops the deal to other brokers, and the vendor goes direct to funding sources. So there's all these common pitfalls that you as the broker are facing every time you're making that contact with that potential client. They have all these other options. It's confusing. They get told information that may or may not be correct. So they decide that they need to go out and start doing all this research. And so how do we help this client move through the process of purchasing and this truck and finding financing? And so, maintaining I think the biggest thing is communication is the key. How do we avoid these pitfalls? And we have to stay at top of mind. Clients will buy every 12 to 18 months. Most of your clients are going to purchase some piece of equipment, a truck, a trailer, every 12 to 18 months. And once you already establish that client, keep in contact with them, keep sending them pertinent information in regards to markets or anything that can help their pain points. Have that consultative mindset. You want to help with their business. You want to help their business grow. You're going to be a consultant in this whole time, and be that person, be that go-to person that is there that will help them through the ups and downs of their business. Every time you are providing value to your client, you're saving them time, you're saving them energy that they got to go out and they got to find that truck, they got to find finance, and they got to do all these things. Where if you are that person, that top of their mind when they're ready to go buy again, then you will be the one that they'll go to. You'll be a full service finding and financing the equipment. What do you got, Patrick?
Well, I think the key is to stay in close contact with that customer or vendor all the time. You know when they're probably going to buy their next vehicle, and so call them a couple weeks to a couple months before then. The thing is that it is a small market out there. There's a lot of brokers out there, but they all seem to use the same funding sources. And so it's not uncommon to get a customer that comes to you that has already come to another broker that's gone through us. And so it's just, I guess the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you can stay in contact with that customer, they have trust in you that you're working for them, they're going to keep coming back to you, and they're not going to go shop around.
Yeah. That is so key. If you could just stay at top of mind, that is just key of just maintaining that communication line, maintaining that trust, being a part of their business. I know it's a lot of energy and time, but I think it pays off in the end, and it's not so transactional. It becomes relationship driven. Resources to get clients. We are both, me and Patrick both, we are in the funding side of things. And so, and I try my darndest to understand the brokers and talk to my brokers and get their ideas of their pain points to see what they're having problems with. And right now, so many of my brokers are coming to me going, we're just having a hard time getting good deals, getting good clients in the door. They're limited right now. That's just a problem. I think one of the biggest things is start local. Google Maps is your friend. Start local. So if you're looking at trucking companies or you're looking at vendors, start looking at the ones that are closest to you, that you can drive to, that you can walk in. You can talk to that finance manager. You can set up a meeting with that owner and talk to them about their face-to-face is back to the old school way of doing things, is face-to-face, walk into their business, see the flow of their business, see the trucks they have on the lot. Gives you an idea of what's out there available for sale, and really get in good with those vendors and just face-to-face talk to them, prospect in person. It is critical to do that. You can use the Safer website, government Safer website. There's a couple other ones out there, but the Safer website for if you're going to go look for trucking companies is a great place to start and just mine the data out of those. They have the most likely, they usually have email and phone numbers and direct addresses. So, that's a good place to start if you're going to look directly at going after trucking companies themselves.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The Safer website is probably one of your best tools to do research on that customer. They're the ones that are going to be able to tell you whether or not that customer is active status, how many vehicles they have in their fleet, and if they're either a short haul or a long haul driver. And oftentimes it'll tell you as well as how many employees they have. So it's a resource.
Yeah, how many trucks they have in fleet, and yeah, like how many drivers do they have? So there's a ton of stuff right there, and be a great place to start there. Google Maps is there's so much information there that you can get, especially on the vendor side of things. It is one of the best places. And I know several brokers that have made trips and have laid out an AI to go, I want to visit all these vendors on my trip. And so they map out, how many vendors can I see there just a few miles off the interstate. And so really just go out and just make yourself present with these folks.
Another real quick resource would be a Secretary of State for each state. It'll give you a lot more information as who the sources of the corporate people are with each organization. That'll help you understand how long they've been in business as well.
Yeah, that's a combination of all those between the Safer and the SOSs and any Google search, if they have a website or anything like that, that is tremendous amount of data right there that really get you going, be a warm intro when you can walk in that door. Partnering with funders. So we, Patrick and me, our business of Balboa and CH Brown, we both take in broker business. So I think, reaching out to these funders, you've been in business for a while, we'll even do startup brokers, so it's all good. But when you're really to send the deal to us, you really need to know your funding sources. You really need to know your client. So just a couple points here to look at things. Pull your own credit report. Just get an idea where it was going to land. They'll state, sometimes your client will state, I got a 720, and sometimes that's correct and sometimes it's not, but it saves a lot of time on the other end. We use bank statements. We look at bank statements, especially on established businesses. We really dig into they need to be understanding the cash flow. You need to know what kind of revenue they're generating. We base it on if they're running one OTR truck, one sleeper truck, they should be generating anywhere from $9,000 to $12,000 a month in revenue just on that one truck. If they're not running full time, or there's other issues. And so you really need to look at it. If they're running two, we need to see 20,000 or so in revenue, because you need to look at that revenue side and make sure that truck their company is already generating revenue that they can afford to get that next piece of equipment. So it's bank statements, understanding the cash flow, make sure the MCAs are not there, make sure that they're positive, the daily ending balances are all positive, that they're managing their cash flow, they're managing their money well. And then I just kind of threw in here, understanding the funder's credit box. A simple way of doing that, general overview is all most funding sources look at the collateral, the cash flow, the character, the capital, the conditions. We look at those 5 C's, and we each have a certain way of valuing what each one of those are. So for us, the collateral side of things is the business purpose, and then we really look at the market value. The cash flow, of course, bank statements, revenue history, leverage. How much are they leveraged? They have a lot of history on their pay net? Are they a lot of recent history? Really get an idea, ask those questions up front. How much more have you borrowed lately, and get an idea there. Again, character, pay history on their CBR, their time in business, all good history indicators of if they're willing and able and willing to pay. It's the ones, I know we get a lot of CBRs that have a late pay. Well, was it a late because they couldn't make it, or they didn't want to make it? That's always a question that is in the back of our head. And then in capital, how much do they have invested in their own business? How much do they already own? Have they been able to pay off debt? They're able to put down payment on the trucks. And of course, economic conditions of the industry is critical. OTR is always not in the best of shape. It goes up and down. Yeah, 2022, they were cruising, and a lot of high prices they were getting for the trucks, and a lot of they're making really good money per mile, and then all of a sudden it crashes. So there's all these economic conditions in the industry we got to follow. What do you have, Patrick?
Well, one of the key indicators to an economy is how quickly the truck industry stays in good business and how quickly they go out. Noticed over history that if the industry looks bad, so the trucks were the ones that led the way. That's what we've noticed the most. We pull
Yes.
what we call a pre-check, a pre-net on our customers, because we like to see comparable credit. If they've borrowed before, we'd like to see how good they've maintained that credit history, more so than their personal credit. A lot of times, if they have good business credit, it's far superior than their personal credit, because that's the key to business. You want to maintain a good business relationship, and try to stay away from using your personal lines of credit towards your business, especially if you want to increase your business over the long haul. Yeah, I think that's important is to recognize these credit areas. Look at that bank statement. Look at the start of the balance and the ending balance, and look in between to see if they can afford a monthly payment of X amount of dollars anytime during that month, because you don't know when exactly that payment's going to be pulled from their account. They may have a negative balance at the time, and by all means, you don't want to have them go NSF on you. Certainly hurts their credit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the negative balances means that they're not going to be able to, at some point, like I said, if we pull the payment right there and it comes back to NSF, that's a huge mark against them on our eyes. So yes. Another thing we're looking at, niche first, expand second, and focus on a specific pain point. What do you like as a broker? What kind of deals and businesses and people do you like to work with? And look deep into what they are doing and their pain points that they're seeing, and then obsess with solutions for that niche market. That way you will get established. You'll, like I said, here, consulting mindset to solve the problems. You'll understand the industry deeper. You'll be able to bring more ideas and solutions into a pain point, and you will be that go-to person if it's a niche market. That is just huge. And then once you get to that point, you can start to expand. Then, have patience first, build the systems and relationships. You build the systems to achieve your goals. And once you establish yourself as in your niche, you will become an expert. Then expand after that, really niche down, really get an idea of the industry, and then start to solve problems there.
One of the things that's important to realize is that that customer is always going to be yours. It's never ours as a funding source. We don't have time to fall back on that customer, calling him back and saying, do you want to still continue businesses? That's your job. And we want to make sure that there's a fine line between, or definite line between that relationship, because that customer's there for life for you, not for us. We want to make that perfectly clear that we're not going to go after your customer.
Right, exactly. No, without you guys, the brokers, we would have to build a sales team. We would have to build the funnels. We would have to build all the infrastructure to do that. You are the infrastructure. You are the one that brings us the deals. And so, yeah, the customer is your client. We just take care of your client. So yeah, that was down and dirty. This is a very broad topic. So it's hard to get exactly granular on. We can go in some of the tactics here in the questions and answers section and go into some tactics for some things or give you some ideas. This is just kind of hope to generate some ideas in your head of what to do and where to go. All I can say is be consistent, always be out there pounding the pavement, prospecting constantly, but have a purpose with your prospecting. Identify your ideal client and go after that ideal client and get obsessed with their problems. And so, this is, what can we do to help you guys?
And just another thing, it's not just over the road and day cabs that we're looking at. There's all different types of trucks out there that are available, all different types of companies that use other types of trucks like box trucks and other types of industries out there that even a bakery uses a truck. And so there's just so many different varieties of customers out there for you.
Great. We do have someone asking if we can put the Safer website into the chat. I'm looking on the web, on the internet, and I don't know if this is the right one. It says safer.fmcsa.dot.gov. Is that the correct one?
Yes,
okay.
That's the correct one. Yep.
Okay. So, and if anybody has any questions, please type those in the Q&A box and we'll get those answered.
One of the things about that Safer website is also it tells you whether or not the customer has current insurance. And that's pretty important as well.
Yep. Yep. Gives you a pretty deep introspective into the business and the health of the business.
Is that a free site,
Yes.
or do you have to pay for a subscription? It's free?
No, all free. Yep.
That's nice. So again, that was safer.f as in Frank, M as in Mary, C as in Charlie, S as in Sam, A as in Apple, .dot.gov. So if anybody needs that, that's.
And sometimes all you have to do is just type in DOT and it'll go to the same place.
They'll go to the same place. Yep.
Yeah, it does say Department of Transportation at the top of it. I have a question. What do you do with a client who has no PayNet score? Will anyone finance a client without a PayNet score?
I think the answer is it all depends. Length of time in business, bank statements generally will help if they have no PayNet. That's what we like to see if there is no credit history. We like to see a couple months of solid banks, and that, and if they're then we'll look at a personal credit score to see what that looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, and as far paying for us, yeah, we don't necessarily go off the score. We look at the history side of things and look how the depth of it. If they don't have any history in the payment, then the bank statements would be great. If the 3 months of bank statements you have don't look good, give us more bank statements. If it's a seasonal industry or for some reason they 1 or 2 months of those bank statements aren't good, then give us more of the story. Show more about what's going on with this business.
Yeah, that's the key. Seasonal industries out there like farming that may need a box truck to haul vegetables to the market may have some off times, and so those banks look really horrible. But if you can send, say, 12 months worth, you can see a cycle.
Mhm.
Okay. What do you use to value the collateral, internal or a platform?
We use to value, let's just take an OTR truck. We use truck paper to value it. And so when you go in, we'll do a search. We want to get uh, as many pieces of equipment into it. So we'll thin it down, year, make, model, and then miles. We'll spread the miles out to get as many examples as possible. And then there's an upper right-hand button. We'll push that, and it gives us a breakdown of saying, okay, this truck at auction is worth this, and at retail it's worth this. It removes the highs and lows out of it, so we get a pretty good idea where that piece of equipment will land, and we use that valuation to start with.
I don't think we're quite as sophisticated on that end, where we look more of a how many miles the vehicle has and its age. And if it's coming from a reputable dealership, then we're pretty much going to take the word as far as its value is.
Okay. What are your thoughts on reliability of PayNet scores? The scores often do not properly represent the credit quality in their opinion.
Definitely a good point.
Yeah.
And you notice with
Yes.
even your personal credit scores, there's oftentimes things that are there that aren't supposed to be. And so it's kind of the nature of the beast. We just have to kind of look and see what it is. If there's something that pulls up, we may have to do a little more research or ask for more information from the customer.
So PayNet scores, we actually stopped using them. It would show, one, we would get several that were, okay, this guy, it's been a long time, they seem to like time in business. So 10 years, they've had some repos, they were still scoring high. And we're kind of looking at those going, something's not right. New business, 2 years time in business, perfect pay history for last 18 months. They would just slaughter them on the PayNet scores. And so we just said, okay, we're going to just look at the history, make our own judgment based on the history of what's in there. So we've completely gone away from the PayNet scores.
We'll also look at a LexisNexis, which will give us some additional information on the history of the companies, history of the customer. It'll tell us whether or not they've had a bankruptcy 45 years ago,
Yep.
that kind of thing. Or if they, not getting really out into the weeds here, but if they do have a criminal background, it'll also tell us that.
Mm-hmm. We use LexisNexis and IDI Core when we're doing background checks on new member applicants. And I do find IDI Core actually seems like it goes into more detail with the criminal aspect of it, because sometimes with LexisNexis, it'll say something very broad, but it doesn't drill down. It's kind of like, well, is it a traffic ticket or is it a felony?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And IDI Core, I find it drills down a little better onto the what the offense actually was, so that you can see, well, was that really something really bad that we should be concerned about, or was that something, they went, don't ride in a car with them or something.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's generally a question you don't really want to ask if they've had a conviction or some type of felony. It's just something that's a little awkward sometimes,
Very-
but
Yep.
And again, even with those, you could ask them sometimes, because we do ask if we see something that's really concerning, and sometimes we'll get like, that wasn't me. I don't know what that was. That's not, shouldn't be on there, and maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
um, but it's not infallible. It could be not on there correctly.
I know here's a I know when we look at a personal credit report and we'll get some pushback going, no, that was paid, or that was, that wasn't me, or that was, that happened. That was my wife that charged that up and didn't make the payments. But we have to look at that one point of truth, and we have to look at that and go, um, we need to look at that credit score and that history in there, and I understand, it happens very, very rarely. It's a 1% or less, but it does happen, and we still just need to go back and rely on that credit report to say, yeah, you were late, or you have a past due balance on a credit card and it's considerable. So right now we can't do that until that's fixed, type thing.
Mhm.
And oftentimes that has been fixed. We just need proof,
Yep,
and then
a
we can
letter. Yep.
look at look at it again.
Okay.
Especially tax liens. If there's some tax lien that hasn't been finalized, but they have paperwork to show that they are making payments, that's good. That's as good as it gets for us. So,
Okay. Question, how can I cold call with Safer? There's no list.
well,
Cold
that's where you
call
probably
was,
have to use your Google search on
yeah.
that.
Okay. Greg wants to know if the slide deck will be sent up to participants. We are recording this, and it will be on the AACFB members only section of the website. So I
And
can.
there's another website, and I can share. Yeah. Oop. So there's another website that shows a lot more information. I don't have it in front of me right now, and I can share that with you, Monica, later, and you can send it out. It kind of bases a lot of information, pulls a lot of information out of the safer, but it does have phone numbers and such to possibly start to reach out from there.
Okay. Ken wants to know if they can get your contact information. So if you want to give that out now and they can write it down, or I can send it to him directly.
Whichever you want to do. I'm an open book.
Yeah, same here. Open book. All my
Well,
info.
you're
Yeah.
welcome to give it out now, and then I can also send it to him.
Okay. My direct email is kwest@chbef.com. That's K, then the West, like the direction, at Charlie Hector Boyd Echo Foxtrot.com.
And mine is Patrick.Kaufman, and that's Kauffman at balboacapital.com.
Okay. Next question is, have we discussed a startup yet? Will you finance startup, over the road, vocational, dump, utility, or other?
If it is a vocational type of organization, our we have a startup program that they have to be in business for at least 7 months. If it is a transportation company, we need to see 2 years. And if it's over the road, we have to see 5 years.
So we do have a startup program. Most of it is we got to see not so much time in business, but we just need to see that they have industry experience. I know that's difficult to prove, but W-2s and pay stubs to show that they have experience in this industry, and we'll go off of that. If we're looking at OTRs, they're going to need own a home, own some sort of residence, some sort of land, something like that. But if we're looking at vocational or anything like that, we will definitely we just need to see industry experience, and if they can prove that, then we can sure move forward with it.
Some things we find is that oftentimes a sole prop will file an LLC, and the LLC is pretty young. If we can get just documentation that they've been a sole prop prior to that, we can also use that experience.
Yep.
Okay. Um, Do you title the trucks and trailers or do you rely on the vendors?
We do a combination of both. We're trying to get away from not having to do it. It's kind of a pain in the rear. But
Hmm.
one of the things that we do require is if the vendor is in a different state than the customer, then we are required to do the titling. If the customer
Yep.
is in the same state as the vendor, then we require the vendor to do the titling.
Yeah, same here.
Okay.
But in the event, if they have a third party group that does titling, we certainly will welcome that from time to time.
Yep.
Okay. What about child support? I guess they have someone that's still reporting past due, but it's already been paid. So I'm assuming they'd have to have some kind of
Yep. Proof.
letter saying that it's paid.
Yes.
Yeah. Proof. Yes. Yeah. Proof. Just we treat it just like a term loan. If it is late, then in the last 12 months, then we deny the deal. If it was paid for and everything, and it's been 12 months free and clear, then it's still showing, then we just need proof.
Okay. Thoughts on the trucking industry in general? When do you think it will turn for the better? The $1 million question.
Yeah. It's going to be stagnant. I'm just going to say it's going to be stagnant for right now. I don't know what other word to use. I don't think it's going to be going up or down until we have another event of some
I think
sort.
I think in-state trucking industry is going to stay pretty much stable with local commerce and stuff. But over the road definitely is having its pains.
Yep.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's kind of cyclical and we're
Yeah.
going to be on the downside, but at some point it will upturn. We just don't know when.
You're right.
So the next one is for each of you, what is your 2025 economic forecast? How do you feel like it's going to go? You said stagnant, you think for this year?
I honestly think things are picking up. We had one of our highest months last month for the amount of deals that funded. I would say 70% of those deals were transportation related, not necessarily trucks, but different types of vehicles. Have a lot of contractors out there looking for uh, construction equipment, F-150s, that kind of stuff for their daily use. And so um, I think, unfortunately, with the weather patterns, the tragedies that have happened throughout the U.S., construction industry is going to kind of keep things rolling for transportation, for that industry at least.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
rebuilding. That's
a lot
sad.
of rebuilding. Yeah, definitely a lot of rebuilding. Yeah, we feel the same way. We did one of our best quarters ever in last quarter, and so and I hard to say why. I know a lot of my single brokers, single person shops are struggling. I don't know if it's just I don't know why. It's kind of weird that we had one of our best quarters. So it's the construction side of things is always going to be there. The infrastructure, everything needs to be repaired, need to be updated. Always going to be there. Always growing something. Transportation needs to haul, so it's always going to be there. It's just going to go up and down. And then yeah, as the economy goes, it'll go. So stagnant to slightly better. Yeah, that's kind of our preview of things.
Mhm. Is there startup dollar cap?
75,000 for us.
50,000 for us.
Okay. So somewhere in that range, then. Um, I don't know if this is a reframing of the same as startup dollar ceiling. I think that's the same question.
But
Um,
we have an app only program that goes up to 500,000. And what that basically means, if they have comparable credit, then we usually don't ask for a lot of things, maybe bank statements. But if they don't, then we're going to ask for financials, and that can go up into the millions that we'll fund.
What is your asset advance policy, and do you have standard down payment requirements?
Well, with us, we don't require a down payment. That we don't look necessarily at their assets that they have, just on the equipment that we're going to be financing. And so our we charge what we call a security deposit, which is basically the first payment that is considered the last payment. So the security deposit is refunded at the end, and that's plus some docking fees is what we charge. So if their payment's $900 a month, their security deposit is going to be about $900 plus some docking fees.
For us, generally, we require a 20% down payment, although we do have zero down programs for all assets, including OTR. They got to be pretty strong to get a zero down. But we will also take into consideration other assets, other collateral, to get a reduced down. So, there's a couple different ways of looking at it there.
I guess the way we're structured as a equipment finance agreement, we really don't like to lien other properties, and that's makes it a little easier for us, so we don't have to pay monthly taxes, things on that for the customer.
Do you do over-the-road owner-operators lease to carriers?
No.
No, we don't. Nope.
Do you know of any funding sources that do that?
Well,
off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It makes it difficult because they may own the equipment, but they work for another company. It's a little they can't guarantee, I guess, that they're going to have a job next month, and they're still going to be stuck with a payment. And so if their key is one source of revenue, and they don't have the opportunity to go out and find other places to haul things for, then it makes it really, really tough.
Yeah. Do you look at mortgages and other installments as comparable credit, or just auto and truck or equipment?
We look at everything.
We only look at the ratio on their credit bureau report, what their score is, and what their debt ratio is. That's about it. We like to see histories that are at least 5 years old in order to establish some longevity.
Do you loan on free and clear equipment?
Considering a sale leaseback, no.
We'll do some cash out. We don't like to. It involves third party. Usually we'll go up to 50% of the value. So we really don't do a sale leaseback or a cash out finance.
Well, let me see. I've got one more. What CBR do you look at? XPN, TU, or EFX?
We look at Experian.
Yeah. Same here. FICO 8 or whatever. I know we've changed a couple times. Yeah, FICO 8s. Yep.
Let me back up here and say we look at Equifax. We used to look at Experian, but we're Equifax now. We just changed it. I'm sorry. Whoops.
Do you look at, will you take the broker's pull, or do you pull your own?
We do a soft pull anyway.
Yeah.
We certainly will look at theirs, thanking them that they've sent it out and have done some due diligence and stuff, but we still do our own.
So we'll look at the brokers initially, and then once we go to docs, we'll do a hard pull.
Okay. All right. Well, that looks like all of our questions. I'm looking to see if we have any late stragglers coming in, but I don't see them. Trying to Get my video back here. All right. Well, with that, I want to thank you both for sharing your expertise with our members today. That concludes our webinar, and I thank everyone for participating. We had a lot of interaction and Q&A, which is great. This webinar will be posted on the members only section of the AACFB website. So if you want to go back and review it at any time in the future, you can. And again, thank you for attending, and thank you guys for presenting, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.